A lot of news in the battery and energy storage space this week. Got some news about load shifting, long-term duration discharge of batteries in the energy storage space. Also on GM. GM has been making some announcements. Some bad news regarding Pacific Gas and Electric that might have something to do with what we announced last week. And one word. I've got one word. Are you listening? Indonesia. Hi, and thanks for joining Batteries in 5, the 5-minute guide to what's happening in the battery and energy storage space in the past week. I'm Sam Jaffe, Managing Director of Cairn Energy Research Advisors, and I'm going to start talking about PG&E. Last week, we talked a little bit about the Moss Landing project, huge 1.2 gigawatt hour project, a little bit shakier now. There's been some news that the investment banks have been talking to PG&E about doing a reorg of debt. That probably means bankruptcy is coming. A utilities bankruptcy isn't nearly as dire as in other industries. You need to keep the utility running, so somebody's going to get those assets and operate the utility. But it does imperil Moss Landing. It's a little bit more uncertain that that project will be built. Also wanted to talk about General Motors. General Motors announced in December that they were discontinuing the Chevy Volt. That was pretty significant. We thought it would happen in 2020. It's going to happen in 2019 instead. Not too bad. But now they've announced that they are going to make Cadillac the flagship brand for the electric vehicle push. They also said they're going to focus on battery electric vehicles, large battery packs, only batteries, not a plug-in hybrid with an extra gasoline engine like the Chevy Volt was. That's pretty significant because it means a lot more batteries are going to be used by GM. It means that the whole trend towards PHEVs is kind of grinding to a halt, not just with GM, but with others. And if more batteries per car are used, that means a bigger battery industry in the future. Long-term discharge, long-duration discharge, what we call load shifting. Load shifting is 4 or more hours of discharge time. And we think that it's kind of been a hypothetical application in the past. It's starting to get real. We're starting to hear about RFPs that will be coming for more than 4 hours of discharge. Starting to hear some noise from a few companies, VRB Energy in China and Primus Power in the US. Regarding VRB Energy, they just announced they've broken ground on their Hubei project in the province of Hubei in China. 40 megawatts, 10 megawatt, 40 megawatt hours, 10 megawatts. So it's still only a 4-hour system, but the beginning of this 4, 6, 8-hour discharge part of the ESS space. So keep your eyes on that. Then I wanted to mention GEM. GM's a really, not GM, General Motors, but GEM, the Chinese chemicals company. They make a lot of the precursors that go into the batteries made in China, especially for CATL. GEM has announced a new project in Futafina, Indonesia, and this project is going to do 150,000 tons of nickel sulfate, 50,000 of manganese sulfate. I'm sorry, got that wrong. 30,000 of manganese sulfate, 20,000 tons of cobalt sulfate. Now, Indonesia has a lot of natural resources. They have resisted just sending ore to China in the past, so it makes sense that China would come to Indonesia to make it and then send the finished chemical over to China. But it also might be the beginning of a local domestic Indonesian battery and electric vehicle industry. That's pretty significant. It's a huge market, and it's something that we've been hearing a few things about recently. So now it's not just going to be China in Asia, it's going to be India, Indonesia, all of Southeast Asia. Everything is starting to move towards EVs throughout the continent. Thanks very much for joining this episode of Batteries in 5. I'll be at the Micro Mobility Conference in San Francisco on January 31st. And then again at the Storage Week Conference, speaking in San Francisco again. Hope to see you there. Thanks.